Hello, Orville Nation. Welcome, everybody. Hello, guys. It's time for some Dark Matter Mondays. It's been a while. And hello, Tracy. Hello, Jeff. Hello, everybody who's in here, in the chat. And hello to Dave, who's working somewhere. He's always working. All right. So we are ready for some Dark Matter Monday. We got some updates on the raffle. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody. And let me see. I hope I'm not being choppy here. I'm getting like just one or two bands of on my Wi-Fi here. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, Tracy. Good to see you. Hello, Jeff. Good to see everybody. Hello, Elo. Good to see everyone. Well, it's time for Dark Matter Mondays, and it's time to get kicked off. Let me just take care of the little business before, guys. Yes, I was the one of the last people on the planet to get COVID, and that set me back a week basically. So just a couple of administrative duties. We're going to be back now every Monday, unless something comes up and we have to switch a Monday for a Tuesday or something. But in general, we'll be back every Monday. And we are going to be going again through more Dark Matter on this replay. We're going to be inviting guests and former panelists and etc. But we are going to try to focus on the high value content of the replay. So we're going to be commenting the replay. We're going to be watching it. We're going to be as we move along as we progress. I'm going to be inviting people on with me. But there is such value in the content that in all this material that we went through with Joe last year. And I'm going to say something to you guys. We were all hoping for season 4 or miniseries or whatever. But I'm going to throw this idea out at you guys. For the time being, like my season 4 for the time being is going to be season 1, and I'll tell you why. Especially watching this episode 3, there is so much. There are so many layers to the writing, to Joe's writing, and there is so much going on. It's unbelievable. Having watched to the end of season 3, and even those little extra tidbits of season 4 that Joe gave us, knowing all that we know, those of us who are hardcore Dark Matter fans, when you go back and watch season 1, it is freaking unbelievable. The amount of layers that go into Joe's writing. I'm just continuously saying, I'm being completely sincere. I'm not exaggerating. I am completely blown away by the new meaning. I'm finding brand new meaning in what I've seen in episode 1 and everything, and we'll talk about it later. But everything from 3 telling 2 that her response to the android is emotional and is just a little too emotional, and all these little tiny things. And maybe it's the psychologist in me talking about, thinking about the subconscious, and even though they've lost their memories, that somehow subconsciously they're connected to emotions and feelings, and they're connected to one another. It's one of the most important parts about great writing, in my opinion, is when you're talking about a TV show, when applied to the screen, is the rewatchability. Season 1 has so much rewatchability to me. I'm going to be completely honest. I almost find it more interesting now because we see Joe has this mystery box that actually reveals itself slowly, and there's answers. There's answers to the mystery box. It's not just mystery box for the sake of being a mystery box. There's revelation. There's tiny tidbits of revelation. There's clues. There's clues all over the place. There is clues all over the place to their personalities, to their relationships, to everything. It is absolutely. I'm going to be completely honest. I really feel like I'm more interested now in rewatching it, probably for the fifth time or something, or I don't know. Probably the fifth time I've watched this episode. Yeah, I would say probably maybe fourth, maybe fifth. It's even more interesting to me now. Tracy says, I found it great to do a rewatch back to back. I discovered so many things myself. Excellent writing. Yeah. Now, yeah. Absolutely, Tracy. And it's really, if you are a Dark Matter fan, the rewatchability of Dark Matter is just is fabulous. Now there's rewatchability in all kinds of sci-fi series that we love, like the Orville and stuff. But Joe's rewatchability, the rewatchability from Dark Matter is very unique because of the layers and layers, and then, like Joe says, he's been before this went into production, he's been planning this out for 7 years. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of sci-fi writers who've been planning stuff out for years and years, but Joe has a particular talent for subtlety and for revelation. And there is not one single tidbit, and I'm not comparing it to Lost or anybody in particular, but there's not one single bit of mystery in Dark Matter. And I would even say there's not one single bit of mystery in any Joe Malazzi, hashtag Team Malazzi, everybody. Make sure you have hashtag Team Malazzi on your social media. There's not one single bit of mystery in Joe Malazzi's writing that goes left as a mystery, that doesn't get addressed. And we find out, we truly slowly, at the rate that was intended, we slowly learn about everything. So now that I have talked for too long, let me just put up this. Let me put the we're watching episode 3 of Dark Matter Mondays, and of course about episode 3 of season 1. So let me put this up real quick. And while I put this up, guys, don't forget we have guys the Dark Matter raffle, the Dark Matter and Orville raffle. And again, thank you again to Melissa O'Neill, to Joe Malazzi, to Tom Costantino, to Seth MacFarlane. Thank you to all of you guys for making this raffle possible. Of course, it has gone on far too long, and as soon as I wanted to do the build up to this, the last thing I thought I was going to get COVID. When I was doing the final build-up to the final drawing. So the final drawing is going to be next Monday, on Dark Matter Monday. We're going to do the final drawing. And guys, the chances of somebody you know, everybody's been very generous and donated, but I'm going to be completely honest. The chances of someone, of one of you guys, you know, here in the chat or on the replay, or somebody who regularly watches is not watching, the chance of one of you guys winning is spectacular. It's spectacular. And I'm also going to add myself. The intention, of course, is, and the reason Melissa started all this, Melissa O'Neill, who plays two, started all this. And of course, she's in The Rookie and so many other things. Melissa donated, of course, her jumpsuit from the beginning of season 2 from the prison. And I'm just going to put up an image while we do that. And of course, she donated the her prison suit. And let's see. And she donated this amazing prison suit, and of course her backpack, and the Raza, I was going to say tapestry. Somebody help me. Where's Maria when I need it? What was it called again? Needlepoint. Yes, the needlepoint. Hello. Oh, there she is. Hello, Maria. Hey, Hayes for horses. Guys, somebody is going to walk away with this, and they're going to walk away with several other things, including what was donated to us by. Might be you guys walking away with this, with what was donated to us by Tom Costantino. Of course, because of the blue screen, we cannot see it well. This is the badge. This is the majority rules. I'll put it in front of them. There you go. The majority rules badge you can't see because of the green screen. It looks really cool though when it's lit up. I'll put up a video later. The majority rules badge, a functioning, lights up. It's brightly lit up right now, but of course the green screen is canceling it out. So Melissa O'Neill's backpack. Next time we'll get Maria's backpack. And the needlepoint with the whole Raza crew, fantastic. It was hanging up in the production office. I'm going to be doing several videos. We're going to do a build up to this for next Monday. If you guys haven't bought your donated, if you haven't donated, you're really gonna wanna. Let me make sure before we go here. You guys obviously know what I'm talking about. And this was very generously donated by Tom Costantino. And this is what it looks like. Okay. And it's got different numbers on it though. Slightly different numbers. Each one has, different numbers. And so guys, very cool. That's again, if you donate $50 to Rambling Canucks, gives and go. Thank you, Tracy. If you give $50, for every $50 you give, you will have an entry into the raffle. For every 25, you will have a second tier entry. The top tier entries at 50 are for the screen used items. They are for this and the Melissa O'Neill jumpsuit. Of course, don't forget, guys, we have an actual model of the Raza put together by an amazing artist who is been so generous and wants to remain anonymous. But the Raza with its rotating engines, guys, is I'm just going to show you real quick. Again, this, and I'm going to be doing several streams this week, just promoting the raffle. And again, this is going to be for next Monday, The final drawing is next Monday. What I'm going to add, guys, is once we have given away the initial prizes, 5 more people will be selected from the 5 more people will be selected, and I will give away something from the Orville Nation store. And what I'm going to be giving away from the Orville Nation store is the following for 5 people. So 5 people will win. 5 people will win an Orville Nation pin, which you can geek out and you can use at all your conventions. And this is the Orville Nation pin. Very cool, actually. And Nikki did an amazing job. Amazing job, Nikki did. Beautiful design in the pin. And this is the so you get an idea for the pin, size of the pin. So we're going to be giving 5 once we go through the initial prizes. We're going to have 5 consolation prizes, and you can enter to win one of those. So let's finish saying hello to everybody before we start. Hello, Sir Goosey. This again is the direct link for the Gives and Goes. You have to donate 50 or 20. Of course, don't forget to put in the word raffle and your name, and you're automatically entered. Yes, somebody did that, John. Yes, absolutely, and it was unlocked. Thank you to whoever did that. Yeah, that was amazing. Somebody put in over the we got that over the limit, over the finish line there. Again, hello, Prophet. So I think it's best to hello, Aiken. Long time no see. Good to see you. I think it's best to stop listening to PJ and let's get started listening to episode 3 of Dark Matter Mondays, season 1, episode 3. And let's see, here we go. So I'm going to put it up. I've started here at kind of where we're underway into the conversation. And I want to thank, of course, Katie, Nina, Dr. Adega, and Brian from the podcast, and of course, Joseph, for a great discussion, guys. So let's pick things up. Let's see where we are. We're there. This is part of the scene. By the way, so much happens in this episode. So many revelations. I love the the polygraph scene where the robot is testing the veracity of everybody's story. But I think it's best just to go underway. So I'm going to stop talking. Okay. He wants to break them up and sell the shit.
Yeah, I mean, very much. That mess hall table was like the dining room table I saw, and they were like the extended family. And at the very beginning, they're like very much a dysfunctional family. No one's getting along. And 3 is very much the outsider, the guy who's always looking out for himself. And he's the guy that viewers really hated. I think it took him until episode 7, really, until they actually started to warm to him. So
he was really annoying to me too. I remember that.
Him at this point.
By the way, guys, these are still the good old days where it was fun to hate 3, right? Before he's grown on you. But there are like little moments. Excuse me. There are little moments of likability, but yeah, he's still more on the annoying side. And if you guys remember, Joe was when Joe asked Anthony Lemke how he felt about it at some point, and he loved it. He loved the fact that everybody kind of disliked him at the beginning and hated him even, and then he would just grow on, and he really does become a favorite. All right, I'm going to be quiet now.
Good job making him annoying, Joe.
Well, let's circle back at the end of the season and see where you are at.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember like when I was watching it, like I was like, he's really annoying, but I can tell that something is gonna happen where I'm gonna switch, flip a switch, and I'm gonna be like, oh, I love this guy. Like I just can tell that it's building up to something.
It's funny because Anthony Lemke, the actor, is so different from 3. In that he always loves to engage people. Like whenever I would bring someone to set for the first time, like all the cast was be very friendly, but Anthony was always the one who basically approached and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you studying? And really engage. So it's interesting when you always talk about which characters are like which actors are like the characters they play. He is very unlike 3.
That's so funny. That makes him even more of a great actor, because when you're like, not like that character, it's like you're playing it the opposite of yourself. That's great.
Yeah.
Joe, I see here Jeff Beeler's comment. I actually think 5 would be more approachable to conspiracies. And it brings me to one of the questions I wanted to ask you was that why do you think, and I understand, like I get it where it goes, but I think some people ask themselves, why is the android not more suspicious? I mean, why are they not more suspicious of the android as being the problem instead of one of them?
I think at the beginning they're just so.
I think it gets explained. I think it gets explained. But
let me just say that was really funny, John. And hello to Doctor and science fiction author Adega Aula. Thank you, Adega, for dropping in. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I mean, I if you have like a better explanation, please, I would love to hear it. I think they're just really so on unsteady ground, and the fact that they essentially wipe her memories as well. So there's kind of a nice little symmetry there. So even though she may have the means to maybe screw with them. The biggest concern here in this episode is the realization that really, if 5 has a memory of someone wiping their memories, then it can't have been the android. It had to be one of them. So that's where really the suspicion focuses on in this episode.
Okay.
And as you go further on, you will see why it's not the android for several reasons, and Joe just pointed out like the number one.
Okay. I'm glad it's not her. She's my favorite.
Number 7.
Just want to remind everybody that Katie, of course, was being quite the sport and watching these 1 week at a time for like a whole year. So she never binged ahead. So hats off to Katie.
Yeah.
So now we see, and then we see just a few bit, and I'm gonna try to. I don't want to interrupt your conversation, guys. I'm just gonna try to keep you guys on track, or everybody on track, and then but I will let you guys talk. So I apologize. We see that right after breakfast, we see at 5. I think she's like, it feels like she just wants to be in her own little safe space, and she goes exploring the vents.
Well, I love how right before that she explores events, that was her like last resort, because what she was trying to do was she was trying to actually like, kind of talk to all the crew and be like, hey, you want to play a game? And hey, like, you want to hang out with me? And everyone was just kind of like dismissing her, like, oh, this little girl, like, get out of here. Like, we all got things to do. And it was like her last resort was like, fine, then I'll just go and explore the ship, and I'll just go and explore the vents because nobody else wants to hang out with me. And that it was like a happenstance that she, turned out to do that. And that was really cool.
It's like a mischievous child where you're like, oh, hold on, I gotta do something. Just entertain yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna go crawl in the vents. Like, I get that rebellious nature.
Yeah.
That scene also, I mean, she's trying to engage, and everyone is kind of doing their own thing. And that scene where she walks up to the vent and she turns to the vent kind of parallels Four's moment in, I think it was episode 1, where he is walking down the lockers, and it's like almost instinctively he goes to that one locker, he finds the ring. It's kind of the same thing. So you get the sense that she's actually done this before.
Right. It's very true.
And of course,
And thank you again to John Burns for that super chat from last year.
of course, we see that what happens is she goes, and I do want to point out that we see several of the characters being pulled towards things, unconsciously being pulled towards things. We see that 3 is going to be pulled towards the vault. We see that 5 is pulled towards one of those tunnels that brings her to finding the boy. And they go further. Joe goes further into that down the road into that story.
4 always goes to the puzzle box.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sure we'll get to this in a little bit, but like at the beginning, like when I started watching the series, I was like, ooh, what's behind the gate? Like that's all I cared about at that point. I was like, I just want to know what's behind that thing.
Pop it open.
Yeah, open it.
Now, Joe, can you talk briefly about who is doing the writing? And we're in episode 3. Are you doing all the writing? Is it you and Paul? Is it?
Well, I mean, I sat on this idea for the show for, I want to say 7 or 8 years. So I had all the stories planned in detail, especially for the first season. So we got into a room. It was my former writing partner, Paul Mully, and Martin Garrow, who is a creator of a show called Blind Spot and is just incredibly busy in LA. And we got together and we broke the stories over 2.5 weeks. And this was actually Martin's episode. And then, as any showrunner will do, I basically tweaked it, for production purposes and just for voices, because as a freelancer, he wrote the script and he went on his way. And the script will always undergo changes once you go into production, especially as you get to know the actors and what their strengths are. So this one was a Martin Garrow joint.
Oh wow.
Can I ask, just out of curiosity, like, did you have a favorite character? Like, who was your own favorite?
Whenever someone asks me this question, I always say the same thing. It's not like picking your own kid, your favorite kid. That's easy. When it comes to the characters, they were all my favorites.
Aw, that's sweet. I don't believe you.
Because I'm watching this episode by episode, week by week as we do this, I was really surprised at finding a dead body. I didn't think that was going to be what was there for some reason. So
wait, you wait until later this season.
Katie was still like all innocent there before she started making that, before she created that T-shirt that says dark matter gives me trust issues. So alrighty.
Surprises will be coming your way.
oh, I love it. This is a perfect month, I feel like, to be watching Dark Matter. It's like the spooky season, and like all the surprises are really, really top notch.
Thank you.
This is like beginning of October.
Joe, with regards to Kareen's question here, how close, like when you see it on screen finally, when it translates from paper to to the production and then finally on screen, how close is that how cllose is it to what you originally imagined? Or is it better, or is it worse? Or
It really depends. It really depends. I mean, a lot of the time, what I found myself, for instance, in this episode, I'll go back and I'll be like, editorially, there are things that I would have done differently. The timing of certain things I would have done differently. So that's the kind of stuff I get hung up on. But in terms of characters, it's always a pleasant surprise. I mean, in terms of Koreans, which character was most like what you imagined in your mind? I'd have to say 5. Jodelle Ferland was the first person that came to mind when I was casting the role, and then as I was writing the scripts, I thought Jodelle would be perfect, and she was, and she just nailed that. The other one really was Anthony, and you know, as I said, when we came time to cast, we always had 2 or 3 choices for all the roles, but Anthony was far and away. He was 3 as far as I was concerned. If we couldn't cast him, then I would have been crushed.
Diego, if you're still in the chat, I was telling people at the beginning that I'm going back and watching season 1 again. It's almost like, for me, it's almost like a season 4 because it's like I'm getting this whole new, I'm seeing it on a whole different level. See all the layers of Joe's writing, and all the subtleties, the very subtle points and the clues all through season 1. This episode is riddled with little subtleties and clues to their personalities, to what's coming up ahead. I don't know if you have any thoughts, if you have any comments on that, I'll put it up if you want to comment on that, on the layers of so what I wanted to get to, what I was getting to at the beginning, Diego, was the rewatchability of season 1 for me is tremendous, because going into it with all the knowledge of having watched the full 3 seasons, when you go back to season 1, that you see the level of thought that Joe was putting into everything, and you don't get this kind of writing from just anybody.
Also, actually, you know, I want to say all the characters, but you know, another character is really that comes to mind is Melissa. She was very much what I imagined for the role.
Perfect.
And you know, I imagine her, you know, physically everything. And then I know there was another actress up for the role that the other producer liked, and it was a bit of a battle, but she would have been wrong for the role. So I'm glad. And then on the other hand, like I said, the android was always in my mind kind of a fun character, but Zoe just, you know, embraced and made the character her own, and she far surpassed expectations of what I had imagined for the android.
Do you want to tackle Lord Thoth's question real quick, Joe? Who was the character that was toughest to write for?
Toughest to write for? To be honest with you, in that first season, it was probably 1. Just because, you know, all of the characters kind of, you know, I sat with the characters for quite a while, so I knew who all the characters were going to be. But one, just in that first season, you know,
I'm just gonna cut off Joe here, guys. I just don't want to read Diego's response. And of course, we're gonna have a Diego back live. I didn't have time to invite him for today, but we're honored to have him whenever he wants to join us. I think I'm like you. When we originally did it, a large portion of the time we were thinking of a question or comment, and hence miss a lot of what Joe told us. Yeah, just going back and watching this conversation is very interesting. And then also going back and watching the episode is like, I don't know. We're gonna have to come up with a new name for Joe, Adega, like Joseph the Onion Malazzi with all these layers or something like that. I don't know. All right, sorry. I'm gonna let Joe talk.
it was a bit of a, I wouldn't say a learning curve, but he turned out a little differently than the character that I had originally envisioned. I mean, originally I envisioned a character like, if you ever watch Farscape, the John Crichton character, who you know, was kind of like, yeah, kind of a goofier character who was often in over his head, and one was like that, but you know, in many ways different. How can I put it? Yeah.
Great. I did see a comment here from they did actually they did say what the injury was, Jeff. And the android does go ahead and say what the injury is.
Yeah, I mean, basically, he mentioned the fact they didn't do more forensic and they couldn't match it to like what the bullet was. And
Oh, I got it.
ultimately, I mean, I guess that's true, but ultimately, even if they would have followed that course of action, I can say, and it's not a spoiler, that it wouldn't have amounted to anything.
Let me just add to this right here. So the shot that killed they found a young teenage boy in the body of a young teenage boy, who was actually find out later was Five's friend. If we knew, if they could match the bullet to one of their guns, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't really necessarily mean that if it was a 3's gun, for example, or 4's gun, or whoever's gun, I guess it wouldn't necessarily mean that it had been them. Although Joe might be thinking of other reasons too. But okay.
Ah, interesting.
Could she have done that though? Like actually like done forensics like on the body? Like she's not a medical
No, he means on the bullets.
Yeah.
Oh, on the bullets. Oh, I see. I thought you meant like do an actual autopsy or something.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if you have that much time in a show to even go through all that.
Yeah.
You could, but
I guess like some one-liners, some throwaway lines about the. I like how fast-paced the show is. I think the writing is superb for that reason. It keeps you going. You know, my wife hates sci-fi, but I got her to watch Dark Matter.
ah, bless your heart.
And after those first couple episodes where everybody's confused, not just the characters, but also the audience, after those first couple episodes, it really starts to become addictive. And my wife hates sci-fi, okay? Me,
Wow.
I am the biggest sci-fi nerd of all time. My wife just doesn't like it. She likes
How'd that work out?
murder porn and history. In fact, you give her some history drama where someone is killing their husband, it's like game on for her. But
That's so cool though that she doesn't like sci-fi and she got into the show.
Yeah, but she got into the show. This show and Supernatural. Those are the only two shows
heck
I've
yeah.
ever gotten her to watch consistently. Every other show, it's like 2 episodes and she's like, this is too much. Even Stargate, God bless her. Even Stargate, she couldn't get into. And I tried for 17 years, babe? 17 years.
I'll take it.
For 17 years, every
And you still married her. That's good.
my birthday's in 3 days, and every birthday, my only birthday present I wish for is for her to watch an episode of Stargate with me. And we are now 17 episodes into Stargate Atlantis. We're gonna get there. By the time I'm 57, we'll get to the first 2 seasons.
Oh my God.
Let's ask Joe: is your whole household very sci-fi oriented, or are they just
Not at all.
flexible?
It's actually more comic book
Here we get a
oriented.
quick
I don't know
tour
if
of
you
Joe's
see
house.
here, some Michael Cho art, and then I got some Alex Ross over there. I've got the big. I don't know if you can see it because it's so dark. It's the Crisis on Infinite Earths giant
Ooh.
Alex
Oh,
Ross.
wow.
Are you more of a DC fan then?
No, I've been both been Marvel and DC. It really just depends on how busy I am, and I usually pick up as many titles as possible and just kind of drop them as I lose interest. So I usually follow writers more than and
Okay.
artists I like.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's really cool. My walls are decorated with sci-fi and DC comics. Those are-
Nice.
I don't have a problem with Marvel. I just prefer DC.
Yeah.
So like right now to
Fair.
my left is like Superman and then Stargate and then Supernatural, Popcast, Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate, Star Trek, Stargate. And that's where it ends.
An excellent
So many
collection.
fandoms.
Oh, and then one poster right in the back of Rick and Morty, where it's the one where it's Rick plus the guy he made, the scientist he made, and the scientist he made and then Morty. So it's like
Nice.
inception of Rick and Morty. Remember the little pocket universes? It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love that.
Great writing. That whole episode was just like.
As you can tell from my background, I'm an anime fan. So
Same.
actually, I love sci-fi anime. It's like some of my favorite actual sci-fi stories. that's
Oh,
ever
so you
been
love
told.
Final Space, huh?
Not really. I don't really count Final Space as anime. I think that anime is for me more like, you know, stuff like Ghost in the Shell and
Have you seen
Cowboy
Japan?
Bebop.
Japan, yeah,
Cowboy Bebop.
my favorite.
Oh, everybody likes that.
Japan Sinks.
Japan Sinks is cool. I love the old school like Galaxy Express 999 and
Nice.
Captain Harlock and, you know, Star Blazers, all the old stuff. I really love that stuff like that.
So you had to love Firefly because that was like Cowboy
I
Bebop
did.
live action.
Mhm.
I love Firefly, and I'm looking forward to the new Cowboy Bebop live action on Netflix.
You know, these little tangents that come up every once in a while, I leave them in here because they're interesting, and it's also interesting to gauge Joe's reaction sometimes to some of these little tangents. Okay.
But I'm trying to lower my hopes so that I don't get disappointed.
Yeah.
So, we see here that that 2 is asking at the end of that conversation of the autopsy. 2 is asking the android for a favor to keep it to herself, and we will get back to that shortly. What she asks, and we also see after that scene that 3 is like spent the episode trying to chum up. Actually, last episode a little bit too, I think. Chum up to 4 because I guess he sees him as the most powerful ally, and he goes and visits him and he's, you know, trying to establish some rapport with him and trying to garner some support. Joe, I was thinking as we sometimes I bring up an image with somebody's name on it. Do you want to tell us what Vanessa Piazza
Oh,
did?
sure. Vanessa Piazza, you know, the title is right there, executive producer. So she was the number 2 at Prodigy Pictures, which was the production company. And she was point person with all the casting, all the actors, and she dealt with all like the, if there were any sort of on-set issues, she was our point person on it.
This has nothing to do with Vanessa Piazza, but this commentary. Let me just make a commentary about Prodigy Pictures. As great as Prodigy is for making this, I continuously am blown away by the fact that there's no merch for Dark Matter. And in modern fandom, when you don't have merch, it's noticeable. You know, hopefully, you know, let you know, it's important you guys let we this has come up a lot in the last few weeks. We've been talking a lot about it, about how to help Joe, you know, maybe someday be able to complete Dark Matter. It's important we let people know and let Joe know. Obviously, Joe knows, but it's important that the fans, you know, express the need for merch. There's several people. Nikki is doing it. There's a couple other people who are wanting to start to do it. The more merch there is out there for Dark Matter, the more chances are that you know, it's marketing. Listen, it's marketing. It's really basic stuff. It's really grassroots marketing. So anyway, I will shut up now.
And actually, I'm working with Vanessa on a couple of other development projects, and so she's amazing.
Cool. Well,
Nice.
I'm only a follower of the great Avis, says Joe Burns. Okay. Hail Avis.
Hail Avis.
Maybe we'll
And,
find out who Avis is and see. Everybody wants Wave Shatter to be Avis in New York.
Oh my god.
oh, that would be so cool. Kind of like how William Shatner was like the big giant head in Third Rock from the Sun, and everyone was like, yeah.
And for everybody who in the chat, people who don't know, Avis is the god of the Well, I want to say,
Krill.
and I can't say enemy. I can't say enemy of the Union, but yeah, the Krill people. He's the god of the Krill people.
Mhm.
Now, what do you guys think about? What do you guys think about three's chubbing up to try to ally himself with four? Diego, any comments on that?
Oh, I'm trying to let our new people talk as much as they could. Normally, I'm a fanboying over all your guests, especially Joe. But I thought, having seen this so many times, it was interesting to see he's starting to pull out that, at least the way I understand it, is that four, he may, at least in three's mind, look like something similar. And this is where three finds out, wait, four is in it for himself. He plays along, the quiet wolf in the corner that you just don't want to mess with. He can come along for the ride. You give him a piece of bone here and there, but when he turns, he can really turn. And I thought it was great foreshadowing. But for three, he plays a good part of being, like I said, the disgruntled Han Solo. And
Diego's right, and I talked about clues and about about people's characters, and there's a lot of foreshadowing going on as well in very subtle ways. Of course, Diego is a very accomplished author himself.
Yeah, but totally kind of like that archetype for sure.
Han Solo style.
For me, I think three's drawn to four because he's the human equivalent of a nice weapon.
That's a good point.
I'd probably, if I were into it, I'd go for the human equivalent of a blaster.
I just want to comment on the fact that one of the things I really loved about the show was the balance of the masculine energy and the feminine energy within the show. So you had like these really, really cool badass women, like 2 and and 5 even, and the android, and they were really awesome to see. And then you had these amazing men that really showcased their skills, especially like Forrest's character and how he was just so, it was so cool to see how like basically it was like muscle memory for him to do these combat scenes and just to be within his own element in his environment. And it's like as if he hasn't forgotten anything, but you almost kind of think like, has he forgotten anything? But it's just like he's just going through through everything with muscle memory, and that's really cool. And even and three's character as well, just this really awesome masculine energy that was brought to the show, and I love seeing that.
That's another thing I wanted to bring up, because I do it every week, and I'm sorry, Joe, but getting into this writing thing, because I was a doctor for years, I'm experiencing ideas and thoughts and being exposed to all kinds of different writing styles, philosophies, and different things. And the way you've done all of yours is not what's typical nowadays. And I think that's why you have a bigger fan base, because what is being pushed is that you explain everything in a most, or at least my experience of what I've been seeing, is you explain everything in a most monotone, I would say, manner, to where you're not appeasing anyone and you're not offending anyone. It's just kind of bleh. Where yours, when you put it out there, you can see there's mystery and you don't have to explain it right away. Where a lot of people say, please tell us now. Now it has to be explained. Why is this? Why is that? He has a ring. What you have to know now. You have to know now. Here you make people be patient and sit on the edge of their chair and draw out. And it was a thing like we were just.
And let me just stop Adega. Exactly, Adega. Exactly. This is Joe takes his sweet time with a lot of stuff, but he does it so well. Like he does it so. Joe makes it natural. Joe makes the revelation of his characters so natural. That you're not even aware of this, passage of time. You're in the story while this is all going on. You're really enveloped in the story. And of course, like Adega says, Joe has a very planned out, revelation for each character and for the plot and for everything. I see you backstage. I will bring you back shortly. Bring you up front shortly. Okay.
With 4, we're starting to see, because I really like 4.
Me
You're
too.
starting to see this character he's dangerous, but we're not told why, other than he can wield a blade really quickly and leaving you on the edge of your chair. And it goes on with not just the episodic type of series, but the ones that have the more saga series involved with it.
I'll tell you the reason we were able to get away with it is when we sold the show, there are 2 ways you can sell a show. One is you can sell it as an original, in which case you get quite a bit of money to make the show, but you get executives weighing in with notes. And more often than not, when executives weigh in with notes, they don't understand. We need to make this clearer for the audience and so on.
Yeah.
Another way you can sell a show is as an acquisition, which means essentially they pay a nominal amount of money as a licensing fee to air the show, but they get no creative input. And that was the case for Dark Matter. So essentially, our biggest challenge was always the budget. And I think, as a writer, I always talk about producing on the page. I'm experienced enough to know that what we can get away with. And I just wanted to make sure that the money that we had for the show wasn't blown on issues with like losing locations, with unproducible elements, but just ended up on screen. And ultimately, one of the greatest freedoms, for the most part, I would say, and we'll get to that later on down the road. For the most part, I was able to tell the story I wanted to tell.
Let me just point out here, guys, that part of the genius of working with Joe is that he is doing a lot with what is considered in this industry to be a very humble budget, and that is amazing in itself. And really, if somebody, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine what Joe would do if he had a more sizable budget. And the show just gets better from season 1 to season 2 and season 3. It's just he does so much. He does so much. And it's not to say that they have a tiny budget, but this is sci-fi. So it's for sci-fi, the more you have, the better.
Interference. So, and one of the things I always loved about shows, like I mentioned, The Sopranos and The Shield and those cable shows, is they were able to sort of tell the stories with but kind of roll it out in a way that never felt rushed. And that's one of the things that I loved about being able to produce Dark Matter, was that I never had that pressure for the most part of people telling me you have to be more obvious, you have to pay this off now. Audiences, this audience poll we took says that they like this character more than this character, so we have to give this character more screen time. There was hardly any of that.
I actually really wanted quickly to talk, before we talk about the new picture, what Corinne put about the respect shown for women in the show, because it is really fantastic and just refreshing to see a new sci-fi show that doesn't just treat the woman as like the sexy draw character. Like, I feel like a lot of the female characters in the show are very femme fatale. Like, they have that air of mystery, and they're more than just like, they're all gorgeous, but they're more than that. And how was it was it tricky to write and break that almost stigma of, okay, we're going to make them like the sexy woman and make them into more?
I wouldn't say it was difficult to write. I mean, I personally, you can go one of 2 ways. You can go sort of what you were talking about and make them kind of the sexy femme fatales, or on the other hand, you can do what I see being done a lot in television today, is make the female character so powerful and so flawless that she's perfection, and you know, and all of our characters, I think, were strong in their own ways. They were all fun, you know, funny in their own ways, and they were all ultimately flawed in their own ways, and that's.
Let me just stop then to say that, and Joe's always been from Stargate too. Joe's always been very good at writing, you know, his female characters, and like he says, they're strong in their own ways. They're flawed in their own ways. They're real. They're realistic. They're not Mary Sue. They're not, you know, it's realistic. It's realistic, but it's you know, it's also a modern interpretation of what women can be, and they reach their full potential. And on that note, let's bring in somebody who's reaching her full potential backstage. And she doesn't even know that we've been talking about her. She didn't see the fact that I was posting that she was dancing backstage, and Prophet's questions and everybody. So the whole chat's been talking about Maria, and she doesn't even know it. So welcome, Maria. Hello.
You have been talking about me and my dancing?
Yeah, especially Prophet. Prophet wouldn't shut up. No, I'm just kidding.
Prophet. Hey, how's it going?
She could be, what does it say? She could sneak. Oh, I got to turn off my toucan here. It's translating into German. She could be sneaky reading the chat, and I always have.
I wasn't actually reading the chat. I was checking the private messages just in case you were trying to tell me something. I didn't know you guys were talking about me.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, young lady.
Yeah.
What's your next stream? Really quick.
Oh, well, I'm gonna be on with Lorena tomorrow.
Okay.
And then Friday, Dino, late horror show.
Excellent. He's on your channel, or you're on his?
He's on mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right. We'll talk more about it later. Let me start up again.
Yeah.
You know, what always draws me to characters, and you know, on the surface, for instance, 2 seems like the kick-ass commander, again, on the surface, and she seems like perfection. But like the other characters, it's only later on down the line when you begin to kind of peel the onion on these characters that you realize that that's far from the truth.
Yeah, and to just add on what you're saying, like I felt like 2 kind of was that femme fatale, you know, character in a sense, because she was so, and she's beautiful. She's a beautiful woman, but like, you know, like adding to her costume design and stuff like that, like where it was like she wasn't ashamed to be feminine, like, so you're not showing this kind of like, I know it sounds really weird, but like this drab flat costumes where it's like not showing their femininity. And like that's not what was happening with the show. Like you were definitely showing that this is a powerful woman, and just because she kicks ass like 90% of the time doesn't mean she's not feminine. And she has this kind of like, you know, this maternal instinct towards the crew a little bit. Like she wants to take care of them. She wants to take care of 5. She wants to, you know, take care of the android. And later on, you see that a little bit more and more and more as her character develops. And I thought that was just brilliant. It was brilliant.
Well, I mean, also kudos to Melissa O'Neill, who, like I said, I mean, when I saw her audition, I was like, she's her. This is the one. And again, it goes to my anime influences, because I always imagined to just when I was writing the character as an Asian woman. So it just so happened that she was a fantastic actress as well.
She was, absolutely.
Or she is.
Yeah, she is.
On The Rookie.
Again, another fanboy aspect. When you see her acting, and I'm trying not to give away any spoilers or anything, but there was always that, and I don't know if it was your doing, if it was her knowing what was coming up or may not come up or what have you, but when she acts, she always has that, I'm the boss, but it seems like there's just a little bit of insecurity every time she says something. And, you know, to think of being able to do that, let alone being an actress or an actor that could pull that off, you're right. She was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, one of the benefits that the actors had that is not always the case in television is we had 9 scripts ready for them before we even went to into production. So they got a really good sense of who their characters were. It wasn't just a matter of talking it out with us. I mean, they could always come up to the office and I would always talk if they had any questions. But they had those 9 scripts, and there's a progression over those 9 scripts. So they kind of had a good sense of who their characters were. So, I mean, as you said, I mean, that was really Melissa sort of adding that kind of nuance to her performance.
Wow. Thanks, John Burns. 6 is competent to fly the Marauder, so it makes sense he goes to a planet. 5 is better on the ship, again, because of competency, but not gender.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Thank you, John Burns. And we see here that we saw 3 and 4 pairing, and obviously this is a great way that the writing staff is introducing the characters, they're pairing them off, and we see a lot of bonding here with in this episode actually with 6 and 5. They have several times that they're together, and are you cementing here their relationship in this episode, would you say, Joe?
I would say yes. I mean, the characters all seem to kind of, kind of pair off in different ways. And you mentioned sort of, 3 seeking out 4. We'll see 1 and 2 later on. And this is something actually that the groundwork is kind of laid out in the pilot, where she's in the infirmary with 6, and they have that kind of weird exchange, and you see it kind of again develop over the course of the episodes. But this is the one episode where as you said, you really begin to cement that relationship. That's kind of big brother, little sis relationship.
I love that relationship. It was so cool.
And it's so refreshing not to just see like a romantic relationship, but other relationships that truly exist in real life brought into a show. I love it.
It's funny because you should also check out, there's a Dark Matter subreddit on Reddit, and someone actually posted a really interesting comment. Again, I'm not going to give anything away, but I mean they love the fact that we never sexualize 5. She's presented as a teen, and even though she grows into a young woman, the rest of the family sees her as a member of the family. Right. So, I never really thought about it because, I mean, it just, subconsciously, that's the way I always saw the character, but it was kind of nice to have someone, point out that they like that.
Now, I don't think that Joe goes into it here, but, I recall Joe saying it on several occasions that I think that, if I'm not mistaken, that the somebody from maybe from Prodigy or from I assume it was Prodigy or maybe Sci-Fi. No, it's probably from Prodigy, I guess. Had hinted that maybe they should try to sexualize 5 a little bit and make her more appealing, and then. Joe would come back, if I recall correctly, saying, no, she's the kid in this family. She's the kid. And so just to touch upon that point, Maria, I wanted to ask you real quick, how do you feel about, and I've muted you so you can unmute yourself. How did you feel about the rewatchability of Dark Matter season 1?
Oh, it's always rewatchable. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it myself again. Always, because you catch things that you may have not caught the first time. And then some things make sense. You're like, oh yeah. So I think, everything that, because the way Joe writes, it's flawless. But it's like Stargate. You can go back and watch Stargate over and over again because the writing is so great. Same thing with this. But I love watching it over again. Just real quick, I was going to say to Dig, I wore this because you are on here, and I wore it in your honor. So
yes, it is steampunk Adega, not Latin. Again, guys, so much rewatchability with this television show. Again, right, like for now, season 1 is my season 4. Right now that we're doing the rewatch, I'm really enjoying it. In this, there's so many things. There's so many little tidbits and subtleties, and and foreshadowing for things to come. Some great moments in this episode. Just to remind people, one of my favorite moments in this episode is when five says to three, "There's no bullets in your guns. I have your bullets," and she produces them, and very, and this came up the first. This has come up a lot. Like some people said, and even I thought it for a moment, that somebody who's really good, somebody who's really handy with their weapons, notices that the weight is off. But I do want to say that in the heat of the moment, it's normal for people to maybe not notice it instantly. But then Joe does address it, because as soon as she says it, 3 is holding up there, and then he's like testing, and he's like, "Oh damn, she's right. The weight is off." So Joe, I just want to point out that some, it came up a little bit when we reviewed the first season. Maybe I've even mentioned it too, but thinking it through, Joe does actually address it in 3 checking the guns while he's holding them. So. And Dane says, "I always thought 5 and 6 was more like a father and a daughter." Yeah, it is. It is really, yeah. And Prophet says, "I thought 3 and 5 were like a father." Yeah. As well. At down the road, yeah, the three becomes very much kind of that relationship becomes that way too. All right, sorry. Let me go. Let's let Joe keep talking and everybody else keep talking. Would you have liked to be here? Would you have liked to have participated in the live, Maria?
Seriously, you're gonna ask me that? Yes. I was like, and I was constantly sitting there pouting. Why can't I be on there? Yes, I would have loved that. Absolutely.
All right, let's go. Let's continue.
Like, just to add on to what you're saying, because you kind of see that like a little bit later on, and I really don't want to spoil it, but you kind of see her evolution of growing up, and then there's this one scene, and when she's ready, and then she comes out, and everyone's like, "Whoa, like, is that you?" And it's it's really cool. Like, I love that scene so much, because I was like, "Oh my god, she's growing up." Like, it's so cool to see that.
This picture is
Speaking of which,
yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean,
this picture. I'm interrupting myself and Joe. This picture is from Jodell's social media for October for Halloween. That's a pretty cool outfit actually. So yeah, she does. She obviously does grow up since since season 1. There's a lot of growing up for Jodell.
This was a photo that Jodell Ferlin, who played 5, just posted today, and I guess that's my comment at the top. Darkly elegant. She's
great.
Yeah, she's
I follow
fantastic.
her Insta. She's like such a cool cosplayer, and she's awesome. And she's from Vancouver, my home city.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a cool picture. I thought I saw it today, and I saw Joe's comment. I thought we should share it. And we have a question here from Time Prophet. Any influences would you say from British comedy for yourself, Joe, in your writing?
I don't know if it necessarily is the British influence, but there is definitely Canadian and British tend to throw it away and have more sort of a glib sense of humor or a drier sense of humor, which is something I kind of always gravitate to. And that's again, occasionally I would get the note, this isn't obvious enough. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's not a note you give me. So in answer to the question, yes, there's definitely a British parallel in the humor.
Let me just say, Joe, when there are things that might not be obvious enough from like you said, from coming up from the high offices, those comments, I think that makes for great rewatch.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you can't argue with executives that they feel that audiences will get bored and will turn it off. In fact, one of the things that we always get is if you can keep an audience to the end of episode 3, then you have them for, as long as the show goes on, or unless you make some drastic changes. So this is why there was a scene that was actually reshot at the end of this episode.
Really?
Because the feeling was that it was not dynamic enough. We need that third episode to really, grip the audience. But we'll discuss that when we get to it.
Ooh.
And I just want to point out, because all kinds of people listen, the more I hear about this, it's fascinating. The more all kinds of people listen to our program. So there's a TV executive out there, who can give Joe Malazzi Star Wars or Avatar money. Do it, because I have never heard.
I'll take it.
I have never heard a producer. He says it on every show. He wants to keep the money on the screen. How responsible is this gentleman? You guys?
I think most producers want to do that. I just think that, sometimes I find sometimes the more money you get to do a show, the more difficult sometimes it is, because
I beg to differ, Joe. Well, actually, no, he's right. He's right. Most producers probably want to do that, but some people have these insane budgets and they splurge and splurge and splurge, Maria, and they put out something that's at best mediocre. Oh my God. Oh, anyway, any comments on that? Sorry, I mute you. You have to unmute yourself, Maria. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Okay. See, shut me up. You like shutting me up. No, you're right about that. I think you're right. I sometimes I wonder where the budget goes when you see the movie and you hear that they spend like all this money on these shows, movies, and you don't understand where it went. But I think Joe is perfect on that, or the way what the show is. I think you could tell it was well budgeted in the right places, and I think from down to the little details, the weapons and the outfits and all of that, it's done perfect, I think.
All right, let's get back to thanks. Let's get back to Joe. Sorry, Joe.
As I said, executives will weigh in with their opinions, and I know, for instance, Star Trek. What was this? I think it was Discovery. I think they were shooting here in Toronto, and I heard stories how they built a set for they spent $1 million on set, and then they had to scrap the $1 million set and start again. And it's just kind of, it almost feels like people have so much money that they don't really know what to do with it. It's kind of mind-boggling.
You know what? It's the elephant in the room in the sci-fi industry, Maria. Star Trek Discovery was the most expensive sci-fi show ever produced, and in the first couple seasons, they spent an obscene amount of money, insane amounts of money, and they put out something that was extremely controversial, and I'm talking about seasons 1 and 2 of Discovery. But all right, sorry, Joe, I keep cutting you off.
Both of you.
Yeah, I mean, that may have done. I don't know, but that may have had something to do with the fact that they changed people running Trek. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure the reason behind it.
Yeah. And so we see here right after that conversation, that moment that they have, 6 finds out that 5 has access to some memories, and so he confronts. He wants to know why 2 has not shared it with everybody. And 2 says, that she had to kind of confirm, that she wanted to study the situation before, releasing it.
And gives you a sense of who the character of 2's character, the fact that she plays things very close to the vest.
And that's what I mean by her maternal side. It's as if she almost wants to protect the crew, and especially 5 from if she is having these dreams, and if that can be used against her, for her own safety, that she should be keeping that to herself for now so that she can protect her.
And I got the vibe that 2 and 6 were both being like maternal and paternal to 5, but in their own unique ways. And that is so great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Brian, were you going to add something there?
No, I was agreeing with Joe, and I think that someone should give him a lot of money because so far, every Joe Mazzoli TV show I'm a huge fan of, and if you can get my wife to like a sci-fi show, then you're a winner.
Fantastic.
Yeah, apparently you're a miracle worker.
It's all about, and Joe, that's like what you said. It's all about getting them past those first 2 episodes. You're good to go.
Three episodes.
3 episodes.
Yeah.
That's what I always say to people too. Like when when I try to get somebody to watch a new show, I'm always like, well, watch the first 3 episodes, and if you don't like it, then just stop.
If I recall correctly, Maria, let me just add here and everybody who's watching, let me just add that I think that what was added, I think that what they insisted Joe add to the end of season, to episode 3, if I'm not mistaken, was between 1 and 2 at the very end, that there's a kiss between them at the very end, in the very last scene. That's what I think that Joe's referring to. I don't recall correctly. Maybe it'll come up again. But okay. Sorry, Joseph. Go ahead.
So they have a brief discussion here about 5 and her situation. And all of a sudden that they find out that they drop out of FTL. And right after that, it occurs to 1, hey, why doesn't the android do lie detector tests on them all? And I thought that was a very interesting twist there.
Well, we kind of set it up in episode 2 where she's talking to 5, and she mentions the fact that I can detect the pheromones and everything. So ultimately, it's kind of a natural progression. Again, we follow up, and it's like, well, if she can do that, then she's a human lie detector. So let's see what we can do with that.
Absolutely. Any comments?
Great. I love this guy. One, I think originally one was one of my definite favorite characters because he was just so. I don't know. He was just so cute. I know that sounds really weird, but he was cute.
Agreed.
And then, of course, at the end of this episode, I was like, ooh, more of him.
That's what I thought about 6.
And thank you, Fat Steven Seagal. Beat up Safe Space. Yeah. Hails to panel. Thank you, Fat Steven Seagal.
Fat Steven.
I hope Steven Seagal doesn't watch us.
I don't think he would even understand. His grasp of English is difficult.
Okay, so the whole concept of so now 1 is going to go around rounding up people, and actually it's interesting because there's a hint there. Like there's hints where you might start thinking that 1 is going to take more charge, and like he might start to dabble in leadership. Did you mean to give that impression, Joe, that he might?
No, I just kind of meant to give the impression that he's concerned. But more than anything, I mean, that scene where he kind of quasi confronts 2 is actually one of my favorite Melissa scenes. And it really establishes, is that episode 2? So I'm thinking of the wrong episode.
It was 2.
Yeah. Sorry. But
I mean, keep this in your head.
He's kind of like 6 and 1 are kind of like the conscience of the crew, and they're always trying to keep everyone sort of on kind of the straight and narrow. So it makes sense that he would be the one to sort of like want to get to the bottom of things.
One of the things I loved about 1 too in this episode was like when he's reading that book, when 5 is trying to like talk to all the crew, and like she's like, come hang out with me, and he's like reading the book, and he's like, well, I probably read it before, but I'm like gonna read it again because I'm enjoying it. I'm like, that is so what I would do. I'd be like, let me start rereading all these books because this is so cool.
Have I read
know
this?
so many people who would kill to be able to restart a book series for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
And the gate, yes, the gate.
This is I want to know what's behind that. I feel 3 and like the want to know what's in there.
You have to wait a little longer.
But you gotta wait.
No.
You gotta wait.
And like the Diego said, the 4 goes to the puzzle box, like 2 goes to 5 goes to the tunnels, and what there's a reason for 3 going there.
Yep.
Ooh.
That first episode when 3 tries to blow it open was hilarious.
That was so funny.
The,
The whole episode's serious up until that point. And then just he tries to blow it open, doesn't work. He just gets slammed into his leg. That was awesome.
Even though like I don't like 3 at the moment, apparently I'm going to fall in love with him, but we'll see. I love the humor that surrounds him. Like, did you write him initially as some shows have that humorous character, or did it naturally just come about?
Oh no, he was definitely. I mean, there's a scene in episode 4 which is quite humorous, which was the audition scene for him, and Anthony nailed it. I mean, all of these characters when I cast them, I gave them a humorous scene to do as well as kind of a straight scene because I needed the humor from these characters. And I've often said humor is like a shorthand that allows audiences to really connect with characters. I mean, you look at Stargate and Rodney McKay and Jack O'Neill and Eli. They're all humorous characters in different ways, and yet they all turn out to be fan favorites. I wanted all of these characters in the end to be fan favorites.
No, I don't mean to deviate, but since you brought it up, can you pick one of the characters, one of the actors, and walk us through their casting process real quick? To some degree?
Sure. I mean, what happens is we'll pick an actor.
Well, I'll let you pick them.
Well, they're all. It's all kind of varying degrees. I mean, we put out a casting call, and our casting agent will read the script, and she'll put together kind of a character breakdown. It's called, and we'll say, this is what we're looking for, this type. And they'll send that out to the agents, and the agents will look at the roster and say, "Oh, this person would be perfect for the role." So let's say the role of 4, for instance. We opened that up. We said, master swordsman, but we opened up to all ethnicities and all genders. So we had actually actresses and actors audition for the roles, and in fact, it came down to 2, an actor and an actress. In the end, and we ended up going with Alex. But what happens is they come in, they get the sides, which are basically the scene they have to read, and they either come in and do it live, audition, if you will, or they will do a self-tape and they will send that in. And in Alex's case, he put together a self-tape because he couldn't make the audition. And then you get, for instance, for 2 or for Alex, I think we had like over 100 actors audition. And then we narrowed it down to maybe a dozen, and we bring them in for a second reading, and then we'll add a second scene. And
let me just say, for Alex Malari, 100 actors. Wow, that's a lot. By the way, I don't know if Maria, if you've seen it, but Alex, who plays 4, starred in the Adam Project on Netflix with Ryan Reynolds, which premiered this past month. And I don't know, have you seen that, the Adam Project, Maria?
I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to catch that.
Great stuff. And I'm gonna put up like a quick picture of Alex in that project. He did a great job. He played a villain.
God.
And I'm going to put up a picture while we're talking. Any comments on anything we're listening to?
Oh, no, I'm still thinking about that. I'm running through the process of having to be up against 100 people, in the audition. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Well,
God,
if you're
that's
the only one
amazing.
if you're the only one snorting, it could be an advantage.
That's stop right there. No,
But
I did enough snorting yesterday for that. But but the other thing is that you have. I think the other thing that was impressing about that is that he did it via a tape to where it is harder, I think, to do it that way than live. Because live you kind of get to read your audience and
yeah,
kind of get feedback that way, or you just feel it more. But to have to do it taped, it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's harder to sell it that way. So I'm impressed.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Initially, of course, the initial cut is probably so recordings and stuff. Um, I'm gonna be putting up. So I'm gonna restart this again, Maria, and I'm gonna be putting up a couple of images of Alex from the Adam Project, so people get a chance and to take a quick peek. He played the villain, so he really gets banged up. He almost doesn't look like himself in some pictures because he's so banged up from the from being the bad guy.
Yikes.
But here you go.
Thing is, I had 9 scripts, so we could really, get a really good sense of who these, which scenes to choose. And he came in and he auditioned, and then you generate a list of usually 2 or 3, your top 2 or 3, and then you have internal discussions. And sometimes, if you have time, you do chemistry reads where, for instance, you bring in, if you want 1 and 2. You'll bring them in, they'll audition the scenes opposite each other, and but we didn't really have time for chemistry reads. So in the end, it was actually, we had 3 to choose from. Usually the network will weigh in, but as I said, our show was an acquisition, so I had 1 less battle to fight. So it came down to me.
Thank God.
Jay Firestone, who was the president of Prodigy Pictures, and Vanessa Piazza, who's our executive producer.
It's really interesting to me that you say that they could have gone either way in terms of gender. Like, is that for every character, or did you have characters in mind that you were like, no, this is a female character? Or like,
no, there were certain characters that I mean, obviously, the character of 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 5, I imagined as those specific genders. 6, I kind of could have gone either way, but ultimately I just thought male. But 4 and the android were opened up, they were wide open. So we had men and women audition for both.
That's so cool.
In fact, in the comic book, the android was male.
Whenever we talk about stuff like that, I know, like, I'm weird, but I always think about like alternate realities where like the other one was cast, like, so like, oh, it's just like all these, there's another reality where like the alternate version has been cast.
Who knows?
Somewhere out there's a version called Light Matter, and it's totally flipped.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
I will say this, that you actually made a really good move, Joe, because most of the prominent androids and other sci-fi franchises are male.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So that was interesting.
that was cool.
And yes, John Burns, Katie is all Prince Joffrey. I want it now.
See, when I read that, I thought of Picard in the TNG episode Rascals, where it's like, I want my father now. And I'm like, oh no.
And let me just point out before I take off this picture. Yeah, Alex did a great job in the Adam Project, and that's not you, Prophet. It's my sloppy American accent. It's the Adam Project because the protagonist is named Adam, and yeah, sometimes you can't tell it's Alex because he's so beat up in some of these pictures, and he's really beat up in like a lot of the still images in this. He goes through a lot in this movie as being the villain here. You should check it out. You'll like it, Maria.
I bet I will. I kind of look like that after I try to give my cat his medicine. So
Yeah.
Funny.
Yes. Okay, and so they start the lie detectors. Oh, there we go. And it's really funny because we see the guy who's being a pain in the ass, of course, and the writers, you guys did such a good job at making him a pain in the ass.
Kudos to Anthony Lemke.
Incredible.
At gunpoint, he has to take the lie detector test.
This was one of my favorite scenes, by the way, because it was a lot of just the whole lie detector. The lie detector scene was just done in a very fun way, very amusing way. And any comments, Maria?
no, I'm just thinking back to when I had to take my lie detector test.
No.
Doing it at gunpoint, I think it would have just made it worse. But no, I'm just thinking back on that. It was
As the
horrible.
android says in the series, it might skew the results if you get shot.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Of course, he doesn't finish it because there's something that goes wrong, and they drop out of FTL. And I wanted to ask you this, Joe. Can you shed any light to the fact? And I just think, obviously, it just didn't go there. The story didn't go there. Can you shed any light onto why they drop out at the supernova?
Essentially, it is a malfunction, as we find out later in the show.
Okay.
Later in the episode.
Got it.
It would be a brilliant move of sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Darn technology breaks when you need it the most.
It is kind of an old ship.
Can I just ask?
Well, kudos too to who designed the background. I know that was an actual nebula.
That was
That was really
It was
cool.
beautiful.
visual effects
I mean,
supervisor
real life.
Prof. Wilson. He worked on Stargate. He was actually an office assistant on Stargate, and he's worked his way up. Became a visual effects supervisor on all 3 seasons of Dark Matter, and he's done a bunch of other shows since. He did The Terror season 2 and a bunch of other stuff. But he's just terrific to work with, and yeah, the nebula was his idea, just to sort of give it a little, kind of a little visual coherence.
And I have to say, I appreciate this so much that there's areas without just a bunch of stars thrown in. Like it's that is actual space.
Can I just ask you really quickly, because you said that you had been writing this series for a very long time.
I hadn't been writing the series. I had it in my mind for 8 years, and so I was able to work on a lot of the backstories and the stories in 8 years.
Yeah, that you had it in your mind.
Yeah.
What inspired you? Like, what kind of stories inspired you to come up with this story? I don't know if it's been asked before. I'm sorry, but
It's just influence of stuff I loved. Like I said, I like those cable shows where so much is crammed into each episode. There are twists, turns, shocks, and surprises. You never know where it's headed. I was definitely influenced by anime like Cowboy Bebop. I mean, if you see, Radical Edward very much is a precursor to 5. Like 7, I like the bad guys. Comic books, Thunderbolts. It's one of my favorite comic book reveals where you find out that the heroes are actually the villains. So it was just
cool.
I mentioned The Shield. I think when we talk about the pilot, the fact that you think you're following the good guys, and then it turns out the good guys are the bad guys,
Right.
and you kind of sucker punch the audience at the end of the first episode. So I mean, that's it. I just wanted to continually surprise the audience, but in a way that was earned. I didn't want to do what I find so many shows do, where they'll throw so many surprises at the audience, but it'll never be set up. It never pays off, and half the time it doesn't make any sense. I wanted to make sure that it all made sense, it all paid off. But more importantly, that, you know, you kind of like set the stage. So you'll notice that there are little hints throughout, so that when you're surprised, you can look back on the show and go like, oh, you know, that was I should have seen that coming.
Yes, and speaking of that, by any chance, have you seen a show called Dark on Netflix?
I saw the first season and loved it.
It's so great.
Yes.
I love that show. I just wanted to ask you that.
Yes.
Cool.
Hey, Joe, introducing new ideas and never paying them off reminded me of Lost.
Yeah.
It got so good.
I have no comments.
Introducing more and more questions, and every season was more and more questions. After like season 3, I'm like, wait, so is anything being paid off? Or, and then you get to the very end, and it's just, you're just pissed for like 3 days straight.
Excellent point, Brian. Did you watch Lost, Maria?
I couldn't.
You
I don't know. I stopped after a little while.
He's right. Just there's more and more mystery and more questions put out there. Nothing gets resolved. The funny thing, before you came out at the beginning of this, I was saying that Joe actually resolves everything. All the little mysteries he brings up, he resolves very subtle, in a very subtle way, and you know, or in a more, you know, not always in a subtle way, but everything's addressed.
And that's hard to do, to go back and remember those little things that come up later. And you don't, even those of us watching don't think about it until later on. You're like, wait a minute. That's clever. It's just real clever.
Yeah. All right.
One of the things I didn't want to do is I wanted to set up a bunch of mysteries, but I wanted to pay off some of them along the way and keep, you know, the bigger mysteries kind of outstanding. So I think, you know, it's kind of a juggling act. You want to sort of obviously keep the audience interested but I mean, you have to give them those little payoffs along the way, or else they just get fed up.
I agree.
It's a trail of cookie crumbs to get to the payoff. I think that's what I'm really enjoying about the show is it treats the viewers like they have intelligence. A lot of shows these days are kind of like, okay, well, the audience has a very short attention span, so we need to wrap everything up quickly. Like, no, your show actually assumes that we're paying attention, and it's refreshing.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because the note I would always get within the writer's room on Stargate was that they were like, you're giving the audience too much credit. And I'd be like, really? But sometimes it was fair. But I remember my writing partner telling me that it was like basically the revelation where I'd always be getting the notes and I'd be like, and he's like, look, seriously, you have to stop assuming your audience is,
smart.
This level.
Smart.
Well, but I like to.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, definitely keep watching Dark though. I'm sure, I think you'll like it. I want to.
So TV execs, Joe Malazzi's mystery boxes actually open up and there's actually something inside.
Yes. That's why I was like, we need an ending. Like, no.
So they do their lie detectors, and the FTL shuts down. And here's the point here where I think I asked Joe at the beginning that why weren't they more suspicious of the android? And the android goes ahead and does a very selfless thing here, where she steps outside and to repair. And there's obviously, even though she thinks she's going to be okay, there's obviously some danger there. And they come up to there's a situation where they kind of have a showdown, because once the android has fixed it and then she's paralyzed outside while she shuts down.
Right.
And there's this great moment here, the showdown, which is, I don't know, I thought it was great, and it was there was also a kind of comedic component to it. And I want to get to your chat and the question, John, in a second, John. And we see this great moment here where, like, we see Five as a kid, but then she comes up with these solutions at critical moments when she has taken all the bullets out of Three's gun. Any comments on that moment, guys? Dega, any comments?
Well, I thought that was cool, but I like that, what was it, 6-second scene later on where you see Three welding his vents so she can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I loved that.
I love that shot though, like just the way, because there's certain shots that you do and it really like kind of adds to the scene, and it's like where she just takes it out of her pocket and she just drops it on the floor, and the camera angled like the way it's done, it's like, oh yeah, like that's hilarious. Like I love that effect that you did that.
Yeah, you know, it's again, there's a little bit of foreshadowing when she drops into Four's room in the previous episodes. But I have to say that my favorite moment or beat in this scene, it was scripted, but Anthony does such a great job where basically she tells them there are no bullets in the gun, and you see him kind of like trying to weigh the gun to see if that actually, you know, is it an indicator? Am I missing some bullets?
Yes, I noticed that.
Now, most people who are used to using their weapons can usually, they might not tell at first, but they can, once they start to think about it, they can tell usually if
It's loaded or
the
not.
weight is right. Yeah, it's loaded or not. Tip for Katie: don't ever try to tell William Shatner how to pronounce sabotage, and you were right. It was young Picard, not young Joffrey.
Oh, that's right. You know what? Actually, young Picard, young Joffrey look similar. Never realized that. It's interesting.
By the way, Joe, I thought it was really, really cool. I thought this is something that we hadn't seen before. I don't remember seeing it. If I think about it, maybe a little further back, maybe I'll find something. But I don't remember ever seeing outside of the spaceship where it was somewhat sheltered. Like this is an area where obviously people are going to have to go to. It's outside the ship, but it's somewhat sheltered for EVAs. So I thought that was a very good touch to the design.
Yeah, she has. Yeah, it's a little more protected area, but she has to sort of walk along the hull, and you see it in that kind of wide shot. We sort of come in, and you see her kind of walking along to get there, and then kind of go down the ramp to access it.
Yeah. And Ensign Ricky, hello to the panel. What's up, Brian?
Hey.
Hope all is well. Got here a little late, but been listening. Yeah, thank you, Ensign Ricky. These panels have been amazing so far. Yeah, Ensign Ricky
Thank you.
has very much appreciated these panels.
And again, I have to say about that scene that you just showed, once again, the set design was so amazing. So that like when they're outside, you really feel it. You're like, okay, I'm outside in space with these dudes. Like I'm like we're just, it's like, and it kind of brings that element of like, okay, I'm really there with them. And I love that. Like, again, it's not just all CGI and you're like, you know, it just, I miss sets, okay? I miss sets and shows to put more of that kind of stuff in there so that, you know, it's tangible and it's, you know, it makes you feel like you're there. I love that.
Absolutely, Nina. There's only like, and I don't have the full picture here, but there's only a couple little windows of space that you see above them, but you really do get the sense that they're outside. And
yeah, that's again kudos to Lauren. You know, when you see up above, you do get a glimpse of the nebula, so that kind of establishes the fact that we are outside.
And the lighting.
And let me just say that we had a great interview with Lauren Bancroft Wilson down the road. I think it was in season 2. So we had a great interview with him.
Perfect for it too, because if you aren't seeing that bright light, it's dark, and it just, I love the contrast.
I haven't asked this. I don't recall you answering this question, and it's not related to any particular episode, but all of them in general. You always hear of there's this cut, there's that cut. How much per episode are you able to nail real close to the time? How much do we lose of what was shot?
Well, I mean, you always have to. You'll always shoot more than you need. But I mean, you get you on average you shoot, what is it, like 7 pages a day, 7, 8 pages a day. And each scene you have to get all the out. You get your master, which is your wide, and then you go in for coverage, and then the editor puts together what's called an assembly, and they tell the story. So they choose which shots they will use if you're going to go in close here, and if you're going to come out wide here, if you're going to use a 2-shot here. And so, I mean, a lot of what gets cut is really kind of repetitive. It's either like the same scene exchange in the wide as opposed to the 2-shot. Then the director comes in and they will know, and in their mind they'll have a cut pattern in their head, and they'll be like, well, maybe instead of using that shot, use this shot. Why don't we use this transition? Then they hand it off to me, and I will go in and I will do the same thing. I will change shots, and then it'll go through another round, a final round, and so for editor's assembly to director's cut to like 2 producer's cuts.
So you never had to lose any tiny bits of story.
There were, I think, a couple of occasions when we ended up losing a scene when the episode was running long. There was a scene in the pilot where the guys are sitting in the shuttle after they find out that the Razas left, and they have this argument about what they're going to do. And much like the scene in this episode, they end up leaving 3, and they decide they're going to go back and help these people. And 3's like, we don't know these people anything. They all leave, and then he ends up getting up and going with them. And in the end, we decided we could lose that scene, and still the story would make sense. I don't think it's till episode, not till season 2, that we actually lost a complete scene. But I mean, I ended up keeping all those scenes. So when the time comes, I'll make those scenes available as well.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Joe, do you want to tackle Corinne's question? Which is your favorite set or part of the set?
Well, it's always the bridge. I mean, I love the bridge. Just visually, I love the bridge. But in terms of writing, it was always the mess hall, because that was the place where they would gather. And
Well, let me just stop 1 sec. Joe said, come the time, he will make those scenes available. We might pose a question to Joe during the week and ask him about that. The long-term, I mean, I'm sure he's waiting for the right moment, and now is probably not the right moment, but I might ask him a follow-up question about that comment. You think, Maria?
I think so. I was
That's
wondering about that
very
myself.
intriguing. It's a very intriguing comment that just went snuck by all of us, kind of, because we're all.
Joe's like, oh, I forgot I said that. I have to say real quick, Joe has the best pictures in the back whenever he does these interviews. He has the best pictures in the back.
It's those are good. Those are good for a background, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
and they would be more relaxed. They would be eating, they would be drinking, having their coffees, and they, the discussion would revolve around more, I guess, more mundane aspects than the big stakes aspects of what they would have to discuss on the bridge. And I kind of like that because it would reveal more about their characters.
I love those scenes actually because of that very fact that you just said that. Like, just gives the little nuances to their characters, and like this is how they're gonna react on the big scenes because of what's going on in those little scenes and the little things that are being added to each character.
Yeah. And Joe, what about Tony's question? What has happened to some of these sets?
They've all been sadly dismantled and surfed.
I don't know how much. I don't know how many times I've said it during this whole thing, and Joe's probably tired of hearing it. But Maria, I kept saying oh my God, these sets should have been kept and made into an Airbnb.
I know, right? Every
music.
time they post something, I was like, I'd like to design my bedroom like that or a living room like that. I think so too. That'd be fun.
The only problem is having a piece of property to have them sit on. But I can imagine you could find, just like those guys in upstate New York in Ticonderoga, who have the like basically recreated the TOS Enterprise on their property, like,
Mm-hmm.
and now people film fan films there. I'm sure you could find the right place to put these if you had to. But anyway.
Oh yeah, I think we could.
Let's listen to the last. Let me see. We're gonna listen to another about 10 minutes.
When a season wraps, the sets usually go into storage. Since they're like the standing sets, like the bridge stays up, everything stays up, but stuff like the green screen and the chairs or what have you go into storage, unless there's another production moving in which case you kind of have to move those. You have to fold the sets. Is what it's called, but that wasn't the case for Dark Matter because we own the stages. But once a show is canceled, you're kind of on the clock because you're paying for storage on these sets that you may never use again. So
I have a couple of questions that are kind of related to each other.
Mhm.
One, how did you come up with the name Dark Matter for your show? And two, why the Raza? Because is there an importance or something like that for you that you named the ship the Raza?
Two things I really hate to come up with are titles and character names. So that's why for the show, as I mentioned, last episode, after episode 1, I just had the fans vote. So I would take a piece of dialogue from each episode, 3 pieces of dialogue, put it to a vote. Whatever the fans chose, that became the episode title.
That's awesome.
And then Dark Matter, I just, what is Dark Matter? There's kind of, the sense of mystery around the fact that it, and I thought thematically it just kind of made sense. And then as for the Raza, really, land for tabula rasa, clean slate. The fact that these characters were,
Wow.
It also means like the
family. Yes.
Spanish.
Family.
Right?
Yes, that's also very appropriate. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
What about John Burns' question, Joe, about how long before did 5 steal the bullets? Because it's not.
Yeah,
We don't see it, right?
We don't really see it, but I mean, it couldn't have been really all that long before because 3 is the type of guy clearly who likes to play with his guns. So, but it was shortly after, they had that conversation where he expresses his suspicions of her. That basically she decides, this guy's a bit of a gun nut. She makes me kind of nervous, and so she takes that step.
And really quick, what about are some of the sets reconfigured for different rooms on the Raza?
Absolutely, particularly the quarters. So that is just one set, the quarters, and you'll notice that it'll be different layouts for each character. Will have a different layout. They'll have different. 4 will have the swords. 3 will have the guns. I think one of them will have like some sort of like artwork. Bed will be facing one way. So yeah, different layouts.
And then we see here the android again, like proving her her worth to the crew, and zaps 6 back into back to life.
You scared me with this too, because I love 6. I was like, don't you dare. I will have a word with you in the podcast tonight.
Interesting. I mentioned earlier that one of the scenes was reshot, and this was it. So in the original script, he gets hit or gets blasted, and one does some CPR, and he's fine. And goes, he's basically back in the infirmary, and they have this discussion. it was felt that we needed the episode to be more dynamic. So we had, we had him go into how to get arrest. One tries, he fails, and then the android steps in and saves the day. So this was the scene. It's a great scene. Originally was tweaked, shall we say.
Did you like the tweak?
I did like the tweak. I mean, it's rarely done on my productions where essentially we reshoot a scene unless there's like a real issue. Originally, I didn't think we needed to, but in retrospect, I'm really glad that we got this moment with the android. Although she was in the infirmary scene, and the dialogue is more or less the same, except for the dynamic, moment where they save 6.
So we see the end of the lie detection test for 3, and obviously they come to the conclusion that he's not lying. So nobody's lying. So there's this scene later, right after this, with 1 and 2, where one is asking 2, well, what are we going to do about this? And what about their little mutiny, by the way, with 3 and 4? But it's basically, understood that they were kind of like looking out for them anyway. They didn't want anybody to die for saving the android. And is anybody surprised at how the scene ended?
No.
Mm-mm.
I said in the first one, I think there's something going on between those two.
Yeah, that's not they've ever paid off. Oh, no, I don't want to spoil it. But I feel like it's not.
Yeah, you can spoil the episode.
I wasn't a big fan of 1 very much because I felt like I was gonna like him a lot, and then just didn't. I mean, there's so many characters that you can only really flesh out. There's so many characters, and like that character, I felt like he, I had an opinion of him in the first few episodes, and then that opinion sort of started to drop because he wasn't really around very much. And then, he just sort of went away.
But then what
Yeah, he kind of goes away without spoiling anything. And of course, Joe has a plan for bringing him back in case there's more dark matter.
I think of the last scene of this episode, though, like when they introduce the other,
I felt like their relationship, or I guess lack of relationship, whatever it is, was it felt weird, like it didn't belong there. You know what I mean? Which is probably, maybe that was the point. Maybe the point of it was she didn't really seem very into it, and he seemed like he wasn't himself. And
no, I mean, what did you think when you meet the doppelganger?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It actually made sense. I'm like, I
Jace
really like this
Corso.
guy. And I didn't really like him, and I knew there was a reason why I didn't like him very much. And I also thought, before I saw the rest of it, I also thought, there must be a lot more doppelgangers out there. Maybe that's the case,
See, touching on that note, I always thought, because you were in 1 and 2, not naturally, normally you'd think, but when I first saw them, I was like, they're both power position players, and at least in my life experience, they tend to be drawn together. The captain of the swim team, captain of the football team, they're drawn together. So that kind of just naturally, in my mind, fits.
I always was like, I think she likes 3. I was like,
yeah, he didn't seem like much of a power player though. He felt like he was gonna be a power player because he was 1, he was awoken first, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he immediately drew himself to being 2's minion. It was really quick. He didn't really take a very much leadership role. In fact, 3 looked like he wanted the leadership role in those first 2 episodes more than anybody.
yeah.
I think 1's the person who likes the leadership role, but isn't one to go out and get it, from what I've seen so far. And that might be why I think he works so well with 2. He likes that leadership role, might not necessarily go for it himself, but We'll support someone else.
Mhm.
He certainly did.
I gotta say, John, the actor Ben David did a great job because he looks like almost like a different person when he's
Yeah.
good and when he's evil. I mean,
Mascara.
He does look different.
It's funny you mentioned that because basically there was one of the outtakes.
Does he look very different, Maria?
Yeah.
He does. I mean, let's listen to what Joe's comment was again.
Where Anthony Lemke and Melissa O'Neill basically look at a picture on screen, and Anthony's like, "It's Jace Corso." You can tell because he's wearing the mascara.
He needed a goatee on Star Trek.
Or like
Give him
a nice
give
little
him a
twirly
goatee.
mustache.
Right.
Or like some sort of tattoo or something.
But
Like,
for me, it's more than the mascara. Obviously, there's more to it there.
Yeah.
But he's obviously a very talented actor.
like a
Or a
neck
It's like a
tattoo.
nice snake going down the neck.
Yes.
Right.
It looks like a spider.
John asks Joe if Fora had been cast as a female, would the name have changed?
Four would have been four, but their real name, their actual name would have changed.
Sorry.
And
Another
this is
fan thing about the series too is without giving.
Was that you, Maria?
Sorry.
She had to get. Sorry, guys. She had to give her 2 cents.
Spoilers. The way we see one, you're okay. The way we
Okay.
see one, how you handled the two individuals, and how it comes out later. I can't think of anything in sci-fi that's similar, and I thought that was really, really cool. Is that yours or is that from the comic?
Right? I wrote the comic, so it's.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
It's only, yeah.
Okay, I apologize for that.
No.
But that was quite unique. I mean, you get a lot of things in sci-fi, that are similar, but that was really cool.
Oh, thanks.
I love this scene. I loved it so much.
that was funny.
I related to this scene.
Yeah. Well.
Maybe I
Again,
should put this on Monday, but oh my gosh. This is like my first hint of maybe liking 3,
I
actually.
love 3.
3 is great.
He's welding. He's just to be clear, he's welding there. So 5 can't sneak into his room through the vents. Okay, and we're almost done. Let's listen to the end of it.
We see one more question here. What?
children's chess.
Oh,
I
Cards
guess-
Against Humanity.
Well, I mean, 5 is definitely like a Dungeons and Dragons geek for sure.
For sure.
3 is poker.
Ooh.
Sure.
2 is probably poker too.
Maybe.
No, she's
I
bridge.
feel like.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a great review. This is such a pleasure and an honor. I say it every time to go through this.
And that's enough for PJ. All right, Maria. What any thoughts on
Well, you asked if Dark Matter had rewatchability, but I think even these interviews have definite rewatchabilities. It's kind of actually fun to do this, to go back and see the things that were talked about then. And like you said, it kind of makes you want to ask questions. I don't know which PJ to look at. Okay, I'm sorry. I've got 2 of them right next to each other. Sorry. You want to go back and ask questions about certain things that you saw in this interview. So these are rewatchable too. So I'm I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, these are totally rewatchable, and they're actually very intriguing. for me too, because I don't know, because because as the host, I have a lot going on, trying to get pictures, trying to this or that, trying to actually this is not so bad, but it gets, sometimes when we have guests and stuff, it gets a little crazier.
Yeah.
So I'm actually taking great pleasure in listening again myself, because there's a lot of stuff that maybe I didn't pick up, or stuff that I have to, move by really quick and didn't spend time on. But well, this has been another great episode to listen to, and I want to
Yes.
thank, of course, Brian from the podcast, Adega, science author and Dr. Adega Outlaw, Nina Infinity, of course, from the Nina Infinity channel, and meteorologist Katie, of course, from so many random fandoms, and of course Joseph. What an honor and what a pleasure to have done this with Joseph. And Julie, like you're saying, Maria, this truly merits another watch every once in a while. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, are you going to be doing the rewatch with us now of season 1?
I'd love to.
Sometimes I get confused with PJ's talking. So do I. No, I'm just kidding. So, and hello, TT. Good to see you, Dave and TT, and everybody who's jumping in. I wonder if they ever thought of doing an animated continuation of the show. Not sure that would make it easier, that though. Yeah, actually, this question has come up a lot, and I guess even though Joe started with a comic book, because he did a comic book prior to filming, I guess this has not been thought of as a viable product. So, but it would be cool to see. I would watch a animated version.
I think so. I think it'd be fun.
As long as it's written by Joe.
Of course, I was gonna say I don't think anybody else could pull that one off.
What do you? Any final comments, Maria?
Clear my throat here for a sec. No, I think I'm hoping that those who haven't seen it, I mean, I know some of it is a little bit of a spoiler for those who haven't seen it, but I'm hoping that if they watch this, it'll encourage them to go back and see it. Because I think at any point this is rewatchable. You can 10 years from now it'll be rewatchable, so I'm hoping that we can create more fans.
Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully, we're going to be try to be doing stuff to promote Dark Matter, and hopefully, we'll get new watchers, new viewers. I want to thank Adega. Thank you again for hanging out with us. Of course, on the in the chat and on the panel, in the original recording, and again, everybody. Thank you, everybody in the panel, everybody in the chat.
Yeah.
Maria, tell us real quick what's coming up on TNT.
Oh, well, TNT on Friday. I'll have Dino from the Late Late Horror Show again. And then after that, you always ask me this when Tracy's not here and I can't ask her what's on my schedule. Oh my God. Let's see what else we have.
You have something next Tuesday, perhaps, or not?
I think I'm going to have Raymond. Raymond, I think, is going to be on one of my Tuesday shows. I don't normally do live, but I might do that for him on this one. And it's just I'm going to be on other people's shows as well. So I'm trying to remember my show. And then let's see. I have I think Dave Beatty's going to be on this. I'm still waiting for him to give me the date on that. Okay. David Beatty.
That's right. You're going to have Dave Beatty and Eric from Retro Rogues on your channel very soon.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll have to put out the schedule because I can't remember it all.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Maria, for joining us with your steampunk hat. Very nice hat. And I want to thank again, of course, thank you, Joseph, for this wonderful experience that we were all blessed with. And thanks to everybody on the panel, of course, and everybody in the chat. Thank you, Time Prophet, TT, Adega Outlaw, Dave's Dimension, Tracy, who's in here before, Rapunzel, John Burns, who's in here, Nate. There's been a lot of people in and out, and of course, all of you watching on the replay. Thank you to everyone. Tim Possible, everyone. Of course, there's a lot of people. Son of a Red Shirt, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. It's been a great experience to do this rewatch. And guys, we'll be back next Monday. And this week, we're going to be doing several streams, by the way. This week, we're going to be doing several streams for the raffle, the Rambling Canuck raffle, guys. And there's going to be a lot of interesting things in the raffle. There's going to be screen-used items like this from the Orville, Majority Rules, Melissa O'Neill's jumpsuit, and a Raza, an original Raza model toy with rotating engines, and so much more, guys. So thank you to everyone again. Maria, any final words?
No, just don't forget to putting it in that raffle. I think, like PJ said, you have a really good chance.
Yeah, you guys have a really good chance. Not that people haven't donated, but there are a lot of items, to be honest. So the information again is right below. You either donate a $25 or a $50 to the Gives and Go below, right below this video. So thank you very much, guys. And we'll be doing several streams this week, and we will be ramping up to next Monday's raffle and episode 4. Thanks, guys. Bye, Maria. Thank you.
Have a good night, all.